What's up, YouTube fans? Today we're going to do a comparison of the FansToys Viper with the Zeta Toys Firefly, both versions of a masterpiece scale aerial bot Fireflight. So recently I reviewed this guy, and this came out in April 2024. This one is from way back in 2021, late 21, when this is a metallic version of this figure. And I never actually reviewed this individual figure. I reviewed the combined mode because most people who buy the Zeta toys are displaying it and using it in combined mode. So I never really looked at it. But now that we have this guy in hand, and I got some comments about some of the shortcomings on this guy, I thought maybe it was worthwhile to take a look and compare it to the only other competition it has in the masterpiece scale for this character. And I asked my members if they'd be interested. 86% said yes, so here we are doing the comparison. Now, as I always mention with these comparisons, I try to be as objective as possible. Of course, there's subjectivity involved when you're comparing things like this. So if I pick one, you prefer the other, then you win. I really try to do these comparisons to help people decide what direction they want to go with their collection. In some cases, people go with both. I happen to have both, this for combined mode right now, and this one in individual bot modes. We'll see when the FansToys comes out whether that sticks around. But right now, that's the way I have it. So hopefully this helps you. With that being said, let's get started. We're going to start off with accessories. All right, so here are the accessories they both come with. And they both come with a blaster, painted and sculpted differently. Now, the FansToys one splits into two, which I guess I would count as a gimmick, but it's really one accessory, so we'll count these together. And then you get a face, extra face for FansToys, and then you get two missiles. I don't know, it's really close. I'm going to give it to Zeta just because they've got extra missiles. They detach. There's actually 4 of them instead of 2 of them. So we'll give accessories over to Zeta just by a hair. Next, we'll talk about the gimmicks on these two. And I did mention the FansToys gun does split in 2, but the Zeta also has those missiles that can display in both modes. So we'll give them equal on that. As far as the plane mode itself, they both have the opening cockpit. Pretty much the same sort of gimmicks here between the two, so we're going to give them a tie on gimmicks. All right, next we'll talk about the cartoon accuracy and the sculpt. In order to do that, we'll put the G1 image here so you can take a look for yourself. And on this one, it's kind of obvious FansToys is going to take the cartoon accuracy. That's what they were going for. Zeta, especially at the time, was going for a stylized look. You know, they've got these translucent pieces, little tampos, little details. So they weren't really going for the cartoon look anyways, but since that's a category here, I'm going to give that over to FansToys. But just another little thing, the face on the Zeta is so ridiculously bad. It is definitely not cartoon accurate, and it just doesn't look good in general. The FansToys face, I really like the way it looks. Overall, it's got that mature look, but still represents the character. As far as sculpt, they're both okay from the front. The Zeta has some interesting little details, but when you come to the side, you can see the FansToys backpack cleans up a lot better. It really like solidifies back here. The Zeta kind of has a lot of little panels and things that are separated. And you can still do the thing where you open up the wings and have like the little mini plane displayed on the back if that's what you want. I don't, but you can do that for both of them. But overall, I do think the FansToys cleans up a little bit better overall, especially these wings. You know, they just don't solidify on the Zeta. And there's little panels back here. So I'm going to give sculpt over to FansToys as well. They really nailed it on this particular figure. All right, now we'll talk about the paint on these two. And I believe the original Zeta version of Firefly was actually not fully painted. This one is fully painted. It's got that metallic paint. It was kind of a repaint that they put out later. So, and I'm not sure about the red because I'm not sure if it's injected paint or painted plastic. But either way, it looks painted. So I'm going to give that to them. I think it is 100% painted. FansToys is also 100% painted. I really like the look of the paint, the metallic, you know, pearlescent paint, and then the red is very, very vibrant. But that's a preference thing. They both have paint, they both look good, and the paint is well done. So I'm going to give them a tie on paint. Next, we'll talk about the build quality on these two. And this one is just a no-brainer once again. FansToys with the perfectly solid build, both in robot and vehicle mode. The Zeta is pretty janky, especially in the vehicle mode. Combined mode is really what their strong suit is in Zeta. It's when it comes to like the robot mode and the jet mode, they're just kind of not that well put together. For example, this guy, you know, his heels are just kind of wacky, so he tends to like be tough to balance. The wings pop off occasionally. The build of this arm is very thin plastic. You want to be careful, but this inner panel here, there's little issues here. You got to be really careful with the Zeta when you're transforming it. But I'm going to give build quality over to FansToys. That was kind of a expected win for them. All right, now let's go over the articulation on these two. In order to that, we'll articulate each one individually, so you can take a look. For the FansToys, the head is on a rotating swivel, so you get up to there, down to there, and then it rotates around, no side to side. Shoulders rotate around on a friction joint, out to the side on a hinge. You have a rotation here at the bicep at a cut joint. Single jointed elbow gets you 90 degrees. Rotation at the wrist. Individually articulated fingers at 2 pins, and then the thumb is on a ball joint. You have a waist swivel down here, so I'm just going to open it up so you can see. It's at the crotch. You get that much back and forth. The legs can kick up to there. Back to here until it hits this piece. You can move that piece out of the way, but I'm not going to count that because you got to start untransforming it. You can open up that little hip skirt. You can get the leg out to there. You have a rotation of the thigh around a universal. 90-degree bend at the knee at a ratchet. Ankle tilt, and I actually missed this articulation during my review, but there is a pivot up and down on this foot. So you can get that forward and backward. And then the toe you can tilt upwards if you want to. Coming over to the Zeta toys, the head is on a ball joint, so you get up and down, rotate, and you get side to side, so one little extra movement there over the FansToys. Shoulder rotates around on this friction joint, out to the side. I really hate these shoulders, but it does go out to the side. You just got to accordion down on the double hinge to use that. You do have 2 joints here at the elbow, but due to the design, you can't actually use them. So you can either get that joint, or you can use the top joint, but you can't use both, so it kind of nullifies the fact that it's a double jointed hinge. So I'm just going to call it a single joint, because you can't use it anyway. It's very silly. Your rotation at the wrist. Individually articulated fingers at 2 pins, and then the thumb is on a ball joint. Just be careful with these thumbs. They pop off and they're easy to lose. You have a rotation at the waist. This one is done better in my opinion, but they both have a rotation. This one a little bit further. For the hips, legs will rotate up to there on friction, back to there on friction, a little bit on the loose side, out to the side on a ratchet joint. Rotation at the thigh around a universal. Single jointed knee gets you 90 degrees. These wings are always an irritation. You have an ankle tilt. It's not even an ankle tilt, it's a toe tilt. And it's very limited. You do get a little bit that way, a little bit that way. And then you have the toe tilt down, so you can do a walking pose, but it doesn't have the ankle tilt. And it's not even an ankle pivot either. It's really just a toe pivot. So I'm going to give them an extra point for having the ankle tilt there. But because you got the extra head movement here on Zeta, but you've got the extra ankle movement on the FansToys, they're going to end up tying for articulation, which is kind of a surprise to me. Next, we'll talk about the transformation engineering on these two. And I did have to transform these for this comparison. And it really surprised me how fun and simple, intuitive the FansToys is. The Zeta toys is really not fun. It starts coming apart on you. There's things that have to flip past other things. Just no fun at all. So I'm going to give transformation over to FansToys. I'm also going to give engineering over to them. I think they just had a slightly cleaner version of the robot mode backpack and the alt mode. Both of them are pretty good alt modes. We'll talk about that in just a minute here. But as far as the engineering, I'm going to give a slight edge over to FansToys just because of the cleanliness. So we'll give them both transformation and engineering. All right, here they are in their alt modes. And both are pretty good looking jets, the F4 Phantoms. There are some differences here, so let's talk about those. They both do have opening cockpits which I thought was a nice little feature to add in. FansToys doesn't always do stuff like that. You do have a detail in that interior. Zeta also opens up. They definitely feel very different, but they both have the seat and a detail there. The Zeta has a separate set of wings, or missiles they can attach to the wings that come on this little adapter. And you can still plug the gun in, but the gun doesn't work as well as the FansToys just because that one splits in half. So it, ends up giving you this symmetrical look. But both of them have the missiles, so I count that even. Now, one thing that's kind of annoying on the Zeta is these wings. Now, they're meant to come out because in combined mode, they wanted to give the option of displaying it without the wings. So they just detach completely. But one of the problems is it doesn't ever solidify very well onto the side of the jet. There's always a little bit of a gap. It just feels a little bit rickety because of that. I'm not sure, maybe there's a better way to do that gimmick. Same for this back tail fin, it slides back and forth. It just feels a little bit rickety. Same for the landing gear, sometimes it collapses down on the front wheel as you roll it. But the FansToys feels really solid, it doesn't collapse down, the wings don't fall on you. I mean, it's really just very, very well built, and the jet mode is very solid. Not only looks-wise, but just feels-wise. So they're pretty close to me as far as their capabilities, but just due to the issues with the wings and the overall feel, and the fact that these landing gear like to collapse, I'm going to give alt mode over to FansToys. I think overall it's a better vehicle. All right, next we'll talk about the cost on these two. And this one is a little interesting because it came as a box set. So I'm just going to go off the original price, and as I always do, I'm going to use the prices off the Ages 3 and Up website since they don't seem to monkey with it. But the Zeta toys, I guess I called him Fireflight before, he's Flyfire, comes in at $60. The FansToys Viper comes in at $226. So we're going to give cost over to Zeta. Pretty big difference there. And the final category here is my members' choice category, where I ask my members which one they prefer, just based on their own preferences and no other factors. And you can see in this that FansToys dominated in the members' choice category. Not a surprise, just the look of it is really nice. So we'll give members' choice over to FansToys. So final thoughts on this comparison. You can see the score there. FansToys is going to dominate this one. Not a surprise to me, but I did want to see how Zeta could hold up here. And I know there's going to be people who leave a comment, they're not going to watch the whole video and say, oh, this is an unfair comparison, shouldn't even bother with it. And I don't believe that. I think if two products are competing in the same space for the same market, then it's worth comparing them. Just like if we were looking at New Age and Magic Square and the price difference between them was significant, which it can be. That doesn't mean it's not worth looking at because they're both legend scale products. Same is true here. These are both masterpiece scale products competing in the same space for the same character. In my opinion, the FansToys aerial bots, at least in robot modes and jet modes, are definitely superior overall as a set to the Zeta toys. Now, where Zeta toys shines and where they have shined and they've held this crown for so long is the combined mode, right? Their Superitron still is the best combined mode Superion out there, period. Now, we don't know yet. We'll see how the FansToys turns out. Based on the images, I think it's going to be pretty good. But yeah, we have yet to see a combiner from FansToys. So right now, we just don't know how it's going to stack up. Of course, we'll do comparison when we get there between the Zeta toys, Superitron, and the FansToys Ethereon. So that's it for today. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.